Shudder Sundays, episode 39. Get your passports ready. Get your flights ready. We're going down to Mexico. We are going to the 2008 body horror, The Ruins.
Ancient Mayan temple off the beaten path.
I want to go.
I'm in.
It's beautiful.
They won't let us leave.
Why are they doing this?
Got something to do with the ruins.
The Ruins.
I'm not okay. You keep saying I'm okay. I'm not okay. Why won't you look at me?
The Ruins is this mid-2000s kind of body horror, sort of like tourism style horror. This was released April 4th, 2008, and this was directed by Carter Smith. This was his directorial debut, so there wasn't really much to note after that. Or, well, before that. After that, he did some stuff, but I'm not familiar with it as well. But this was a pretty loaded cast. This was starring Jonathan Tucker as Jeff, who, if you can, like, add a little shitty mustache and glasses and curly hair, that's Morgan from the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake.
It's so funny. He looks so different in this.
Yeah, thanks IMDb, because I wouldn't have been able to pick this one out. Sean Ashmore is Eric, who played Iceman, or Bobby, in the X-Men trilogy. Jenna Malone as Amy, who played Joanna in Hunger Games. Mm-hmm. And then you noticed her from something else as well.
I did. She also plays Gretchen in Donnie Darko, Donnie's girlfriend.
Mm-hmm. And then, rounding out the cast, we have Laura Ramsey as Stacy from She's the Man. That was really the biggest...
That was the only one I think.
That was the biggest notable role that she had other than this. So why don't you give them a rundown of The Ruins before we dive in?
All right. While four friends are on vacation in Mexico together, they meet German foreigner Matthias, who invites them to explore a secluded ruins that is special access only, where his brother was previously exploring. They come to find themselves in a secluded area where the natives are out to kill them, and so are the mysterious vines.
So Shudder Skull rating. Do you remember what this had on the old Shudder Skull rating?
I already don't, but I'm going to guess a 3.
This was a 4 out of 5.
All right.
I'm surprised you don't remember that, because we actually recorded this whole episode last week, but the audio was not working for some reason, so we're redoing it.
We sure did. Already flew right out of there.
I already forgot. Well, let's see if you remember the Rotten Tomatoes score. So the Rotten Tomatoes, the critics, what do you think they gave The Ruins?
I think it was a 67 from what I can recall. Maybe. I remember it wasn't very good, but...
51%.
51. I was
from
a little
my
off
notes
here. Okay.
When I took these last week.
Okay.
The audience score is a little bit different.
Okay.
What do you think the audience score is?
That was real bad, because I remember it was like a 32%.
30.
30. Even
30%.
worse.
30%. Yes.
Oh.
A couple notes before we dive into this, into our goods and our bads and all that stuff. A couple notes. This was written by Scott Smith, who actually wrote the novel as well. And oddly enough, the distribution rights for the movie were purchased before the novel was even published.
Interesting.
So someone tossed the script
was
around.
onto this one.
They knew about the idea. They thought it was good enough, so they brought him on board. All the outdoor scenes were shot with natural light, so that's always convenient. You don't have to be lugging around all the crap. Mm-hmm. But it also hurts you because you have limited time to shoot stuff.
Right.
So I am curious. I didn't really get any research about the timetable of the shoot and if this like extended it or not, like if it took them longer to shoot because they only had X amount of time to shoot, so that could have hurt them a little bit more than it helped them. But smart. The novel and the screenplay were written by the same person, but the deaths of the characters were all switched around for the most part. So I'm going to go through them real quick just so as a little refresher, because they do get flip-flopped a lot. So in the film, Stacy cuts her knee and the plants start growing inside of her. She ends up killing Eric and kind of begs for everyone else to kill her. However, in the book, it was Eric who cut his knee and he killed Matthias. In the film, Matthias broke his back and then later got his legs all sawed off.
Yep.
In the novel, this happens to Pablo, who was actually Dimitri in this film.
Which is so funny because he wasn't even really a big character in the
Dimitri,
film.
yeah, it was really minimal
Very
at
brief.
best. In the novel, Amy is the first character to die, but in the film, she's the only one who survived, and unlike any of the characters in the novel, she actually managed to escape. So a lot of changing stuff there.
I wish they would do kind of like an alternate of the film with these scenarios and these deaths. I think it'd be kind of fun.
It'd be like a little Yeah, they could redo the whole thing with the
Honestly,
novel,
I was just gonna say
essentially.
it's been so long since this was out too. They could really base it off the novel now
They
if they
could.
wanted.
And there was an alternate ending on the DVD. It showed Amy driving away after she escaped, and then when she looked into the rearview mirror, she saw a small vine moving under her skin. The next scene takes place sometime later at a little cemetery, and there's a caretaker walking around, and he starts whistling off a song, and then he hears it being repeated back to him. It kind of shows the grave, and it shows Amy's name there with the little plants and flowers growing on the gravestone. So we learned that Amy did succumb to the plants. She did die, and the plants were there waiting for the next victim.
Kind of like that.
I like that ending too, because I don't know. The whole escape scene, it felt like the movie did end pretty quickly.
It did.
It would have been fun to leave it on that little cliffhanger, but they must have known, like, hey, we're not making the ruins too.
Right.
Like, just end it there. So let's get into our review then. So the good. What did you have for the good of the ruins?
I thought this was a very good film for how it was marketed as. It was kind of marketed as a body horror, as Nick likes to say, kind of that like tourist vacation horror, which I'm already very into as well. Another one that's kind of similar, kind of old, by M. Night Shyamalan. I feel like that kind of falls into that category maybe too.
It's like that, like Taken, Hostel.
The
Like,
Green Inferno is very similar to this, kind of reminiscent of that as well. But I really liked the route that they took with it. I thought the storyline was a good idea. It was intriguing from the beginning, like Nick had mentioned before as well. The ending was kind of rushed a little bit, but I feel like that's the difficult thing about me when it comes to watching some of these movies, is that if we don't get going right off the rip, I'm going to get distracted or fall asleep.
most
Pretty
likely
much.
fall asleep.
So, and with watching this one, I thought this was my first time watch of it, but after a couple minutes into it, as I usually do, I was like, you know what, I've definitely seen this movie. And having it been a while, it still kept me intrigued as if it was the first time I was watching it too. So I really did like the storyline with that. It is a scary scenario to think of yourself to be in, because it is something that could possibly happen. Maybe not the vines coming to life in that aspect, but definitely with the Mayan tribe and stuff like that, and tourist vacationers. What was some of the good what were some of the good that you had?
One was something that I can't necessarily explain.
Okay.
Being that this is very much 2000s horror. Like, I don't know how to define 2000s horror, because that's obviously you're casting with a wide net there. But I feel like a lot of these movies all feel similar. And I have a little list of movies that maybe it's nostalgia at this point, because I remember not really loving these movies. And I know they're not great movies, but I feel like they're finding their place for me again after the years. But stuff like Cabin Fever, Teresa, Cry Wolf, The Descent, Hostel, Quarantine, even Final Destination, like, they all just feel 2000s. Like, acting's not great, CGI's not great, everything's kind of like shot weirdly. It's like almost a little too dark. It's just like not great, but I like it.
On our first go of the episode that we took, I'd also mentioned kind of like Dead Silence, but another one
Yeah,
that I was
yep.
thinking of was the remake of House of Wax. I feel like that's another
Yeah.
good 2000s.
Is that the Paris Hilton?
Yes.
Yep. But yeah, so like I can't define 2000s horror, but like, you know when you see it. And I kind of am falling into that little nostalgia rabbit hole for those movies now. So I'm like, okay, I'm a little bit more invested than I would be.
I'm really glad you mentioned that nostalgia part, because I think that is what a big part of the 2000s horror is. And for someone who loves nostalgia in films in general, not even just horror, I think that's what really brings us in.
Yeah. I did like in the intro, the taxi ride into the temple. It did give me a lot of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes.
Yeah.
Them just all in the bed of the truck. It was just like a simple one shot, but it did give me the vibes of like going down the dirt road. And then it does play back in the end. Like, it does give me that Texas Chainsaw Massacre ending vibes too, where the survivor's in the back, covered in blood, driving away screaming. It's like, I would be hard pressed to believe that wasn't done in honor of Texas Chainsaw. I'm sure it had to be there to pay homage at some point.
Yeah.
So I did like the sort of ambiguous intro to the whole, like, what is going wrong at the temple. Obviously, with the language barrier there, we don't get told what they're all freaking out about. But you can kind of figure it out as soon as, I think it was Amy that stepped on the plant.
I think so. When she, because I remember it showed her,
She was
like,
taking the
her
pictures.
flip-flop stepping on
Yeah,
it.
she kind of backs up into the plant, and then that's when it, like, escalates. But again, we're still kind of, you're kind of left questioning if this is why, but I liked that that it doesn't just tell you what's happening. You sort of have to figure out a little bit for yourself. And it did give me a lot of all the plants and stuff. We can talk about that. The plants I had is a very positive as well.
I like the plants too.
I liked when they were kind of growing from their wounds and like pulling them out and scraping them and cutting them out. It gave me Don't Go in the Basement vibes from Goosebumps. It was very similar to that.
Yeah.
I thought the body horror from the plants was very well done. I liked, when he was, when he had to cut off the legs, and then when Stacy was cutting herself up a bunch, I thought that was very good. When Matthias was on the ground and like dying, and they started to slowly come out and like grab his like cut off leg and stuff, I thought that was a really cool scene. I liked when the plants would give off the sounds.
Yeah.
They would kind of vibrate, and you could see I don't know if that's what was making the noise, but they can essentially mimic what is heard, because there's a scene where they think a cell phone's ringing, which in order to mimic it, they would have to hear it. So maybe they did hear the phone ringing at some point, or she was on the phone in the intro, maybe.
Maybe it was that, or maybe it was some of the other people that were trapped down in the ruins and
Had
a phone that was ringing, maybe.
But the plants played a big role in the positives for this. So what else did you have for the positives, or the goods?
You kind of mentioned what else I was going to tie into my goods as well, but the body horror that we saw in this and the plants that meshed together, I thought worked really well. Like you said, when actually you didn't bring up that scene, but we were going to talk about that a little later probably too. But when Stacy has all of the like vines and everything being pulled out from the back of her back, and she's just like cutting herself open and stuff like that, and I know you kind of like that scene too, where she sliced her legs up and peeling her flesh off essentially. But also when, quite unfortunate, it was even tough for me to watch because I don't really like too much realistic body horror, I guess, but when Jeff the hero, the surgeon, had to come and say that they had to cut Matthias's legs off and that he couldn't feel anything, and he obviously did, and they literally broke his legs with the stones, sawed him off with like a butcher knife, and then like cauterized them with like hot, like gross rusted like skillet that's probably been up there for a while. But the plants too were so much fun. I really like that they mimic the different sounds. There's a scene with Stacy kind of towards the middle endish of the movie where when Stacy as well was yelling out to the plants, this was after she thought that Amy and Eric were hanging and banging in the tent, like right outside of them, or like right outside when she was inside the tent or something like that, trying to sleep, and they obviously weren't. She's kind of going crazy for the plants. But she yells out something, and basically they start mimicking the same thing, and it gets louder and louder, and she's basically going insane, and it was a pretty cool scene to watch.
Yeah. The other little part of the intro that I did like was when they shot the kid.
We didn't even mention that.
Somebody threw one of the plants in the leaves, and it hit this little kid, and it showed the stakes of what they were like dealing with.
Yeah.
Like that's how willing they were. They weren't at that point. We realized they weren't targeting the tourists. They were really sending them into quarantine. So whatever evil is there, or if it's contagious, whatever, it doesn't spread. So I thought that was a turning point as well. So that we can be like, okay, it's not like people versus people. No, they're trying to seclude these people, quarantine them, and make sure that this evil dies there.
Yeah.
Evil dies tonight.
I was just thinking that.
But any other good before we move into the bad?
I know you said this is very early 2000s horror, which the acting is included with that, but personally, I thought the acting wasn't that bad. I liked it. It felt kind of authentic. They had a good back and forth together, and the scenes where they are injured or hurt or being tortured and have their legs chopped off seems very authentic, and it made me feel I feel bad for characters in movies a lot, and this one definitely made me feel bad, especially for Matthias.
Yeah, the acting was good.
Yeah.
I do like the setting that they chose. I believe in the book it's different. I don't think it's a temple. I think it's just like a cabin.
Yeah.
So that is kind of, I don't want to say boring, but it's pretty generic. Having it in Mexico, like at this like secluded temple, was a really cool setting. Good choice. But yeah, so let's get into the bad then. The bad. What did you have for the bad of the ruins?
Jeff was the bane of this whole movie, unfortunately. He was a very insufferable character to watch. He wasn't that bad at first, but basically, he dragged Amy into this situation. She didn't even want to go to begin with. She was hungover from the night before of partying on the beach in Mexico.
Just wanted her to go on an adventure. What's wrong with that?
He just wanted her to go on an adventure as she's like puking in the toilet at whatever.
She shouldn't be
and then-
hungover and cheating on Jeff.
And she almost cheated on Jeff. She almost kissed Matisse. or on the beach. But anyways, now I lost my train of thought. Back to Jeff. Yeah, ultimately getting Amy to come, guilt-tripping her into going on this hiking adventure that turns into their death trap pretty much. And you see that he kind of took role as the leader, and right off the rip, Eric kind of noticed that, and they were like, oh, why are you making the rules? Why is this, and this? And then the girls were kind of like, no, like, we need someone to kind of, like, take charge, whatever, like, he's right, all this kind of stuff. But basically everything he did, I feel like, wasn't even, like, help any of them, but more so just, like, make himself look better and to practice his nursing school or doctor school, whatever he's in.
Yeah. Jeff was a douche.
Yeah.
The amount of times he had to point out that he was in med school. And that's the point is, like, they're like, even at one point, one of the other characters was like, dude, you're in med school.
Like, you're not a doctor.
You're not this, like, world-renowned surgeon.
You might know more than I do, but...
You're only in med school. Mm-hmm. His willingness to just assume somebody is going to come is just, it blows my mind. Somebody that is seemingly so smart that he has to tell us how smart he is.
I forgot about how optimistic he was.
Just
You reminded
keep saying, oh, well, they're going to come. The Greeks will come. They'll find the map that I left. Like,
they know we're missing.
You're in the middle of the woods. And we are proven wrong in that thought at the end, because the Greeks do eventually show up at the very end.
Yes.
And that's sort of a stinger scene. Mm-hmm. But in my mind, it's like, there's no chance. They're not going to just happen to find this, happen to find the path, because you guys barely found the path as was. Mm-hmm. So that was annoying. The whole surgery thing, he's not going to feel it. No, dude definitely felt it.
He definitely felt it.
There might have been a sense of, like, phantom limbs there, because, you know, that is a real thing where if you lose a limb, you sort of still have feeling there, even though it's nothing there. Mm-hmm. That could have been it, but we didn't dive into that, so we just assumed that, no, Matthias definitely felt all of
unfortunately. And when he decides that the girls are going to be the ones to go down and haul him out of the ruin because they say they're not strong enough to use the pulley system that they have.
Yeah, the little rickety pulley system that they trusted so right off the bat. That was a big issue. And then
he's a MacGyver too. I forgot about that. He does it all.
Yeah, and when Stacy stabbed Eric, and then Jeff goes in to be like, whoa, like, did you not think she was also going to stab you?
Yeah.
You just saw what she did to Eric, her boyfriend. So that was one of my bads. The other thing that I had for the bad was how incredibly quick they spiraled. In the first, like, hour, they sent somebody in the ruins. They broke Matthias's back. Stacy busted her leg. They had to build, like, not build a pulley system, but they had to build
like a backboard for him.
A board to lift Matthias out of there. Like, they just immediately just went downhill so quickly. Yeah. This is stuff that would be happening on, like, day 4, day 5. This was, like, 30 minutes in. They're just already just fucked. Like, that part was really tough for me to swallow, that it would go so poorly so quickly.
I'll kind of piggyback off that one too, because that was one of my bads as well. It's just that they were out there for like 2 or 3 days max. They could have made it if they stayed up there, because those Greeks were coming. So maybe they couldn't have made it fully, but they might have had a better shot. But yeah, and kind of going off that too, I wish that it wasn't so sped up, or it felt like that. In the sense is, I wish that they kind of covered more of the plant's backstory, like, how did these plants come alive and start killing people, and what makes them like this? Is it like the ancient spirits from the Mayan temples or the ruins and stuff like that? And that's why these people are so frightened by them, the tribe members or whoever lives there, and just thinks that they know what's going on. I'm not sure, but I kind of wish they went into more of that aspect of it.
Yeah, and they were just incredibly naive, because Amy even went down. This was after Matthias broke his back or whatever. Amy went back down and was trying to, like, reason with the people. She's like, somebody's hurt. It's like,
that kind of pissed me off.
They already shot and killed one of your friends.
And their own kid.
What do you think? Yeah. You think they're going to just change the tune of their song now? Like, just be like, oh, yeah, no, it's fine. No. Oh, somebody's hurt? Oh, no, I'm so sorry. We didn't think that was going to happen when we shot one of your friends in the face already. That part kind of threw me. I was like, all right. The whole, like, tourism horror, I feel like, is a little bit of a dated genre. Yeah. This was big, obviously, in the 2000s. I think that this all sort of came from the terrorist attacks, September 11th. I feel like we got a lot of those, like, don't travel, it's dangerous out there movies. Like, we talked about Taken and Hostel and Terista, and this is kind of falls in that realm where it's like, ooh, America, good. Vacation's bad. Like, don't go, it's dangerous. I feel like that's not necessarily a movie tone anymore. It didn't really come across great, and it was a little problematic, you can say. The other couple things, there was at least one dated joke that if you showed it to somebody now in their mid-20s, they probably wouldn't get. But when, I think it was Eric who was on the phone, he's like, oh, can you hear me now? That joke's not going to land with anybody under 25, I'd say. And if you're watching out there and you don't understand the joke, you were exactly who I'm talking about. But it was like a cell phone commercial.
It was a Verizon commercial. It was
like, can you hear me now? He would be in different places, but it doesn't really play anymore. I think that's really all I had for the bad. I had one more bad, but it's sort of going to bleed into my what would you change, so I can just kind of talk about it there. Did you have any more bad?
We can get into what we would change.
Yeah. Well, we got another category before that.
Oh, what did I miss?
Top moment.
Oh, how could I forget the top moment?
So what was your top moment of the ruins?
I talk about this scene a lot, so I don't want to say it's my top moment because there was cooler scenes in it. But definitely when Matthias was getting his legs sawed off, that's definitely up there. But I think the moment that Stacy and Amy realized that it was not a cell phone down in the ruins and they weren't going to be able to call for help and that it was the plants mimicking the sound of the cell phone. I think that was it for me.
That was a good one. My top moment was when Stacy woke everybody up and she was standing at the top of the ruins cutting herself out because she kept feeling all of the plants still inside her, and she's over there like with like it's not a fillet knife, but she's like filleting her thighs and she's all cut up and she's like, I almost got it all out, guys. And then,
don't worry, I'm good.
And then she ends up stabbing Eric right in the heart, kills him. But that was my top moment where I was like, okay, this is where it went from a scary kind of survival horror to like, okay, psychologically they are absolutely breaking down completely. So that was my top moment. So we can get into the what would you change. So what would you change about the ruins?
I would probably change the ending of this a little bit. I feel like it was a little bit rushed. It would be nice if they kind of, not extended it out a little bit, but kind of just had a little more detail in it. And is it bad if I say that I was surprised that this actually had a good ending? That someone actually made it out? But I feel like that is one of those tropes for the 2000s horror. I feel like there was at least always one survivor. Normally in horror movies there is one survivor, but sometimes it's nice when you don't get that like good ending. Yeah, it kind of makes it a little more spicy, I guess. But and then again too, I guess that was my dislikes, but it's more of what I would want to change, and I think that would be trying to find more of the backstory of this Mayan tribe that they come in contact with and how the plants have came about to be like this. Yeah.
One note before I get into mine, when you mentioned the ending, I forgot something that I pointed out in the last take. The whole Amy being the one to survive, it kind of pissed me off because it was like, all right, we sort of built this up. Like you said, she was getting, at the beginning of the movie, she was getting drunk and wasted because Jeff was going to school so far away. She was spiraling, I guess, but she started to definitely lead on, was definitely going to cheat on Jeff. And we like, it takes a little bit of that, like me rooting for her out of it. I think it would have been better if Stacy had been the one because she really wasn't like a bad person.
True.
So it was rooting for the final person a little bit less than I normally would have. So that one was like a little off for me. But what I would change was sort of what you were alluding to at the tail end of yours was I wanted to give some more mythos to these ruins and these plants. I would have had them find like research from past people that were already there because when they get there, there's already tents set up. Clearly people have been there before. I would have had some like the journals and more entries about like them spiraling, like, you know, they were there for 30 days and they found all this stuff out about the plants. That would have also made more sense as to how quickly they could learn stuff about this area so they can kind of like spark notes their adventure a little bit.
And they actually bring that up too a little bit when Jeff has them go through the tents trying to look for stuff. Amy does find that notebook and she's kind of looking through it and all that kind of stuff. So it would be nice if they went into that, what was in the notebook.
I would have had the notebook explaining like what was going on a little bit up until the point where the people obviously died. I also would have explored inside the ruins a little bit more, maybe have it less plant infested.
I was
And-
going to say you couldn't really get around it.
Yeah, I would have it less plant infested, so it's almost like that stalkery style thing. So that way we could actually have multiple sets, because we were primarily on the top of this ruin. It would have been fun to be in the caverns, and maybe you could separate the group a little bit that way and have it turn into the survival thing. Inside the ruins, you could have some sort of like hieroglyphics explaining like the plants, and maybe they don't understand it fully. And then when they finally realize it's the plants, the imagery on the hieroglyphics, it comes back to them like, that's what that makes sense. And I would have done it that way a little bit more, so it was expanding the set a little bit more for them. And just diving into that Mayan culture, because other than the fact that we're in Mexico, the people speak Spanish, and we're on like a ruin, there's really not much like Mexican Mayan culture like in the DNA of this movie. So I would have influenced it a little bit more, and I think that would have put it over the top for me. So who is the ruins for?
I believe The Ruins is for anyone who is a fan of mid to early 2000s horror. If you are into vacation tourist type horror, as Nick mentioned some of those movies before, as I like some of them, my favorite's Dead Silence and House of Wax. And if you're into a little bit of good body horror too, with pretty good practical effects, it looked like.
This does dance on a bunch of like subgenres.
It does. That's why it's hard to kind of
I also
explain as a one-off.
I also kind of refer to it as like a survival horror.
That's a good one too.
So it's kind of in that sense. So if anything in that world jumps out at you, this might be for you. It's a fun, easy watch. So let's get into our fear and beer rating. Fear rating, obviously, is scale 1 through 5, how scary this film was. And your beer rating, scale 1 through 5, how much you enjoyed this film. So what is your fear rating for The Ruins?
My fear rating for The Ruins is a 3.
I gave it half of that. 1.5.
1.5.
I didn't think it was that scary.
1.5.
Body horror doesn't really scare me. I think if this movie was more I'm a body horror movie, I would have bumped it a little bit more, because the body horror in it was good, but when this movie's trying to be like 6 or 7 different styles of horror, I can't like give it points. Like obviously when we watch stuff, I kind of base my fear, it's also like how well does that horror be accomplished. So if we watch a very gory movie and I don't think it's scary, but the gore is really good, I give it a little bit of a higher score because it accomplished what it was meant to be. This one, because I don't know exactly what it's meant to be, it's not like full. When I think of Ruins, I don't necessarily think 100% body horror. If it was 100% body horror and we had a little bit more, this would be in that 3 to 4 range, because what we saw was really good. But because it was like you said, like body horror, tourism horror, survival, it was like a little bit of everything. It just fell a little bit short on trying to accomplish all of these things for me.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm very selfish, and I base these biases off of what I believe is scary and makes me uncomfortable. And that was a couple of these scenes in this and the overall tone of it. I actually did have this rated a little bit higher. I had it at a 3.5 when we last recorded this. And I knocked it down to a 3 the more I thought about it. I was like, that's more reasonable, I think.
So your beer rating, what did you have for your beer rating for The Ruins?
My beer rating is a 3.5, though.
0.5?
Kept that the same.
I have this as a 3.5 as well.
Nice.
I do enjoy it. It's a fun watch. It's one of those simple movies that you can just throw on and enjoy. It's not one that you necessarily have to pay attention to like 100%, which isn't really, it doesn't sound like a good thing about a movie, but sometimes that's what you're in the mood for.
It's a good summer watch, too. I didn't mention that in our numerous categories of this.
Yeah, it is. Good watch. So that is all for Shudder Sundays. We will be dropping what we're going to cover in August very soon. Obviously, now that we are leading up to HHN, our Shudder Sundays are going to scale back a little bit just because we have a lot of other stuff to be covering now that HHN's in full speed.
Yes.
So we'll be getting out those movies for you. We're going to drop down to, I think, bi-weekly. So every 2 weeks, we'll try and drop a Shudder Sunday for you. But until then, we'll see you soon.